How will you tell future generations about the coronavirus? What will you choose to hide? What will you choose to emphasize? We live in historic and unprecedented time. There will be books written about it soon. Scholars, historians, and politicians will study our journals and try to draw useful conclusions for future generations. What will these conclusions be? What shall we choose to change in our lives? What can we learn from this experience? These questions have always been in the heart of our tradition. Sometimes our sages chose to hide an unpleasant story and replace it with something metaphorical, something nicer and more useful for future generations. One example of such change is a festival which begins on Monday night, this Monday night, Lag BaOmer. It is a minor holiday that falls on the 33rd day of the 7-week period between Passover and Shavuot. A period of time is also known as Omer. There are few explanations why we celebrate Lag BaOmer. The 39 days of Omer is a time when weddings and other celebrations are forbidden. And as a sign of grief, observant Jews do not cut their hair. Well, how relevant for us today. I can't wait to get a haircut. Anthropologists say that many peoples have similar periods of restraint in the early spring to symbolize their concerns about the growth of their crops. This is probably true for our Lag BaOmer too, but the most often cited explanation for the Jewish practice comes from the Talmud. The Talmudic sages tell us a story that during this season, a plague killed thousands of Rabbi Akiva's students because they did not treat one another respectfully. Rabbi Akiva is a great scholar of the 1st century of the Common Era, and according to the Talmudic legends, he had 40,000 students. The mourning behavior is presumably in memory of those students and their severe punishment. According to a medieval tradition, the plague ceased on the 33rd day of the Omer, Lag BaOmer. The Hebrew letters Lamed and Gimel make up an acronym Lag, which have the combined numerical value of 33. Therefore, the name Lag, 33, 33rd day, BaOmer of the Omer. As a result, Lag BaOmer became a happy day, interrupting the sadness of the whole 49 days period of Omer just for 24 hours. The Talmudic explanation makes most sense when put into a historical context. The outstanding sage Rabbi Akiva became a loyal supporter of Shimon bar Kozba, also known as Bar Kokhba, who lived in the year 132 of the Common Era, led a revolt against Roman rule in Judea. Rabbi Akiva not only had hopes on a political victory over Rome, but believed Bar Kokhba to be the long-awaited Messiah, Mashiach. Many of his 40,000 students joined him in backing the revolt and were killed, along with thousands of Judeans when it failed. Perhaps the Talmudic rabbis still suffering under Roman rule and cautious about referring openly to the past rebellion may have been hinting at those deaths when they spoke of a plague among Rabbi Akiva's students. Possibly also Lag BaOmer marked a respite from a battle or a short-term victory in a battle. If you try to put yourself in the shoes of those who survived and their descendants, you can understand why they didn't want the real story about the revolts to be written down as the official Jewish version. Instead, rabbis transformed it into a lesson of a respectful behavior towards others and possible negative consequences of an unethical conduct of each person. A completely different reason for the holiday concerns one of Rabbi Akiva's few disciples who survived the Bar Kokhba revolt, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. He is said to have died on Lag BaOmer. Rabbi Shimon continued to defy the Roman rulers even after Bar Kokhba's defeat, and was forced to flee for his life and spend years in hiding. Talmudic legend places him and his son, together with his son Elazar, in a cave for 12 years, where a miraculous well and a carob tree sustained them while they spent their days studying and praying all day long. When they finally emerged, Shimon criticized everybody around him. He saw the world around him, a new world, but couldn't cope with the state which world had become. He insisted that people should engage only in the study of Torah. In the words of Talmudic legend, he miraculously burned everything he cast his eye on. For this, God commanded the two of them to come back to their cave for another year, accusing Shimon Bar Yochai of destroying the world with his rigid asceticism. Our world has been in the lockdown. Our world has been in the lockdown for 6 years now, for 6 weeks now. Maybe it feels like years for some. This experience may change the world in a very significant way. But also this Lag BaOmer, this Monday night, may become the day, this Monday may become the day when the semi-mourning period of the lockdown may ease. I'm sure that I am not the only one who is waiting for an announcement to be made. But regardless whether it will or not be easier in terms of the lockdown, I think it is time for us to ask ourselves important questions. How will we tell future generations about the coronavirus? What will we choose to hide? What will we choose to emphasize when we tell them about this time? What will we choose to learn from this time? May this Lag BaOmer be a time for us to reflect on the historic and unprecedented time we are living in, and help us to look positively at the world and to become better individuals, better friends, better families, better people, better society, and a better world. Ken Yehi Ratzon. May this be God's will.